Hello, everyone. So, out of Yahoo, wealthy San Francisco suburb agrees to desegregate schools. Now, this is in regard to education, and there's a story behind this. And so, as you see here, this is the California Attorney General, Xavier Becerra. He's speaking during a news conference in Sacramento, California, a school district in one of California's wealthiest counties has agreed to desegregate. Okay? And so the school district in one of California's wealthiest politically liberal counties has agreed to desegregate a flailing school that state officials found had been intentionally created for low-income minority children, and then it was starved of resources. How many schools in California have been done like this? I've seen plenty. California Attorney General Xavier Becerra said that on Friday that the students at Bayside Martin Luther King Jr. Academy K through 8 school started in 2013, and they were denied a rich curriculum in favor of K through 8 public charter school about a mile away that enrolls more white students. So depriving a child of a fair chance to learn is wicked. It's warped. It's morally bankrupt, and it is corrupt, Becerra said at a press conference. Your skin color, zip code should not determine winners and losers. And I agree with it. It's true. I've seen schools where the same situation or scenario has happened. So I'm adding that in there. The Sausalito Martin City School District in expensive Marin County, just outside of San Francisco, straddles two very different communities. So Sausalito has a tourist-heavy waterfront and multi-million-dollar homes with decks and hot tubs overlooking the bay, and it is predominantly white. The much smaller communities in Marin County City, on the western side of the US 101, has a large black population from African Americans that have migrated to San Francisco Bay since the 1940s for war work. So the agreement calls for an independent monitor to track the district's progress and create desegregation advisory groups, establish a scholarship program, and provide college and career guidance for the students as well. And so the issue of the school desegregation came into the national spotlight with an exchange between the Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris during a Democratic presidential debate. And so speaking about the federal efforts to integrate schools, Harris attacked Biden for his work as a senator in the 1970s to oppose federally ordered busing to achieve, I believe this had to do with busing kids to school. And so to achieve the racial balance in schools. So she said that she was bused to an integrated elementary school in California. So Becerra called the settlement the first comprehensive effort to desegregate a California school in 5 decades. And so think about it. If you look at the school districts and you look at the performance of the school districts and how the kids are faring in these schools, and you see what schools are actually receiving resources and which schools are not, or they're lacking thereof, you will determine what types of schools are more segregated. So having this basically validates a lot of the things that I have been saying, that some of these schools, if you really take a travel and you see the performance of the schools and the resources, the books, the cleanliness of the school, and what efforts and money and funding that they put into the schools, you can see that people will live a different story and live a segregated life, and they will segregate the schools. They will pull their kids out of schools, or they will move to another neighborhood, move to another community, and be amongst people that they feel that they want their kids around. And those families that are wealthy are putting money into their schools, and they are not helping other kids because they feel that those are not my kids. I don't care. They look at the things on TV that they see about other families and their struggles, and then they boo-hoo, but you don't see them sending their kids to those schools. They don't live in those communities. They pull themselves away from those environments. And so people are living a segregated life. Anytime they are saying that they want to desegregate the schools, that tells you a larger story that's happening and that's been going on. It's been happening in California. It's been happening all over in other areas where people have put money in one city, put money in housings, put money in the schools, and funnel more resources to people who are already wealthy, and taking money away, or either don't contribute to situations where they feel it's poverty or it's people of color. And so this pretty much validates that. So the issue of desegregation came into the national spotlight with an exchange between Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris during the Democratic presidential debate. And so this was the whole idea around the school busing. So, speaking about federal efforts to integrate schools, Harris attacked Biden for his work as a senator in the 1970s to oppose federally ordered busing to achieve a racial balance in schools. So she said she was bused to an integrated elementary school in California. So Casetta called the settlement the first comprehensive effort to desegregate California, not California schools, but one school in 5 decades. In 1964, the same district was ordered to desegregate its students, and for years, students in Marion City and Sausalito attended the same schools. But in 2013, the district established Bayside MLK, promising a rigorous curriculum. But instead, what did they do? They chopped classes, programs, and counselors. And in 2019, the school enrolled 119 students, which 80% were African American or Latino. And so Willow Creek Academy, the public charter school in 2017 and 18, enrolled more than 400. And its website says its student population is 40% white and 25% Latino and 10% African American. So Pedro Norgora, education professor at University of California in Los Angeles, said that the real question is whether the district can voluntarily attract affluent parents. So that's the thing. In other words, parents that have more income, wealthier parents, that is. It's good that they called them out on this attempt to reinforce the inequity, he said. Now they can come up with a strategy to educate the kids together and provide them with a high quality education. Now, here's the question. Like he said, they want to try to make a school desegregated, but they want to attract not only just low income families, they want to attract wealthier income families, so that it will create a climate where it's desegregated. And so that tells you there's a bigger picture at play here, that the schools are segregated because the neighborhoods are segregated. The mindsets of people are segregated. The reason why they pull their kids out of those schools is because they don't want to live and don't want to send their kids to schools around people of color. So they don't want to live around people of color, and they don't want to send their kids to schools with people of color, or people that are low income, or people that don't have money, or they're living close to poverty or in poverty level. And so a lot of times people, when they come into money too, they want to only center themselves around other people who have money. And so it shows. It shows in the communities. It shows in the schools. It shows in what type of education your kids are going to get. So that is not just this one school here. That's also other schools in California. Think about it. Nobody's ever really touched on these subjects, but it is true that when you segregate a neighborhood, you're also segregating the children. And you're segregating the learning, and the resources are also starved at these schools and also the communities, and it shows in the community. What community has money that is being given back to the people that live there so that they can be able to thrive, and then what communities are starving of resources. What communities are faring better than those that are starving of those resources. And so that's what this whole thing is about. It's pointing these key issues out as to why you see some of these poor neighborhoods. Or you realize now that when you live in certain communities too, that the rising rents reflect what's going to happen to the livelihood of these families. And so now you have the same children that are living with these homeless people out of motels and out of like little pockets. Maybe they stay in an RV or they sleep out of their car. Those kids are living in families where they're now homeless children. And so think about it. Do you really think that the wealthy families are going to want their kids to attend those schools? Some are going to be more liberal, and they're going to say, kids should have an education no matter what the background, where they come from. Then there's others that don't think like that. They don't want their kids around poverty. They don't want their kids around other kids that are not white. They don't want their kids around blacks and Hispanics, Latinos. They want their kids only around other white kids. And so that's what I know I have seen. I have seen this in Pasadena. I have seen this in schools that are close up towards the beach, where the schools have more resources and more funding in those schools, because the parents, they live by the beach and they can afford that living. And so the schools reflect all of that. And then when you come further into the communities where it's low income families or just working class families, the schools are starved of resources. Such as this one here in San Francisco here. The wealthiest suburb, they claim. Which is true. There are other wealthy communities. And you see the schools in those communities, and you see what the difference when you come to a low-income community versus a community where the parents and the people and the money is going to those communities because they're wealthier. And you know what kind of learning and what kind of education and how the teachers are being paid as well. It fares a lot different. And so with that being said, I'm going to let this video go. This is out of the Associated Press by Janie Har, Associated Press. Wealthy San Francisco suburb agrees to desegregate the school. Okay, the schools can desegregate all they want. But like he said here, we shall see. Because now they have to attract the parents who are wealthy. It's good they called them out on this attempt to reinforce the inequity, he said. Now they can come up with a strategy to educate the kids together and provide them with a high quality education. But Pedro Noguera, education professor at the University of California, Los Angeles, said the real question is whether the district can voluntarily attract affluent parents. And we know what that means. Wealthy, educated parents. Do they want their kids to go to schools that are desegregated with children who have parents that maybe they don't have a lot of degrees? Maybe they don't have a lot of money. But they love their kids too, and they want to see their kids with a good education. What do you think? Should children suffer because of politics and the way people believe and people's racial fears and bias? I'll let you think about that. Thanks for listening.